A month ago, I became a grandfather and I am very happy. My oldest son, Jacopo, Jack, and his partner Sara had a baby, Emily. Welcoming Emily in their family was really wonderful. And it is the start of the completion of what I would call my genetic duty. Now, the role of a grandfather is pretty interesting, in my opinion, in human society. And I want to talk about that, even though, of course, after just a month, I have barely begun experiencing what it means to be one. And then I want to talk about how this role has analogies in our broader organizational challenges. And then, of course, talking about analogies, I will not miss the opportunity to talk about blockchain as well. So I have 3 children. The oldest, who's just become a father, a middle one, who is currently in Montreal, and the youngest, who is a daughter, and she is in Seoul. Quite widely dispersed. I actually made a calculation, and if they went farther, they would start to get closer. So I don't know whether that is a kind of judgment on my qualities as a father or that of my wife as a mother. Anyway, the oldest, who is the closest, had a child, and for me this has been really incredible. The ability for a parent to see their children grow is incredible, but also, of course, it is extremely challenging. There is a lot of responsibility. The first child especially, you know so little of what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. It's an experiment, and crossing fingers, it goes well, like it definitely did in my case. The second child, the third child, well, they are easier from the point of view of being more experienced as a parent, but of course the complications that come with them are not to be discounted at all. There are some studies that pretend to show that people who become a parent end up being less happy than people who are without a child. And I didn't look into the details of those studies, but at least in my personal case, not having been a parent, I guarantee would have made me less happy than I know I am today. Now, as your children grow up, you really enjoy seeing them blossoming and exploring the world and understanding their path. And you remember how wonderful it was when they were very, very little. I don't know if it is true, but I believe it is as if there were some kind of epigenetic trigger that the smell of small babies, especially your own, unlock in humans. And after that unlocking, it is almost as if you were reprogrammed. You look at the world differently. And this is very strong in females, but it is also absolutely strong in males as well. So that is the first thing. When you have a grandchild, you have the opportunity of smelling a baby again. Your own in terms of genetic heritage. And if my hypothesis about the epigenetic trigger is true, then of course the fact that the grandchild still has 1/4 of your own DNA is part of the power of that experience of smelling the baby. Now, interacting with newborn babies is almost instinctive for humans. The noises we make, the smiling, and the amazingly precocious smiling back of a human baby as they see a human face in front of them are the starting blocks of an ever-growing set of tools that we have in order to share our understanding of the world with them, playing together, but also telling fairy tales. I especially enjoyed when my children were young, telling them tales that I would come up with. Rabbit and the Hedgehog, in particular, were the protagonists, and I am definitely looking forward to be able to do the same with Emily as much as I can, because of course I am not going to be with her every evening, but when I will, I am going to come up with a new series of the adventures of Rabbit and Hedgehog. The role of grandparents in human societies is something that you seldom or maybe never find in the rest of the animals, because many of the animals generate the next generation without even becoming a parent as we understand it, without being together with their offspring. Other animals have to care for their offspring, and they have to protect them and see them grow. Others actually have to teach them, for example, to hunt. But the next generation is definitely more detached. Our elephants exhibiting in the herd that goes together to find the watering hole, relationships that we can actually trace back, not only to that of a parent with a child, but that of a grandparent with the child as well. I don't know, and maybe you will tell me. I know that, for example, in Arctic wolves, uncles and aunts have this kind of role where they help within the pack the growing and the defending of the newborn of their respective sisters. So the role of grandparents is something that certainly plays an important foundation in human society. It frees up, for example, the parents, either for a precious few hours or for a more extended amount of time, to procure food, to just be a little bit farther away from the wonderful but screaming and always pretending bundle of joy that their child represents. The network of connections represented by the older generation, which apparently now I belong to, is something that we must leverage even further than we are today. Those societies that relegate their elderly at the periphery of the action, as it were, miss a lot of opportunities of taking advantage of plenty of energy that they have to invest in the well-being of these networks of relationships. But also, they definitely miss out in being able to have a dialogue about their experiences, about their outlook, about how they see the present and the future that the society is building. The societies, on the other hand, that keep their elders closer, in my experience, are stronger. They are more resilient. They are able to withstand pretty large changes and challenges. So it will be interesting to see how, both with my currently newborn grandchild, as well as with others that I am very much hoping are going to join her, both from the same couple, my oldest son, but also from the relationships that my other children are building. Well, the experience is going to be rich, interesting, and I'm looking forward to tell you more about it. Well, and what does this have to do with blockchain? The uninterrupted chain of life that we are part of, that lasted for billions of years, literally never having been extinguished. And that is always renewing itself through the recombination of our genetic material, always finding solutions to the challenges that a changing environment puts on both individuals and the species themselves as they evolve, is, I think, a wonderful comparison, a good analogy with what blockchain is. It is unbroken and unbreakable in the sense that we are so strongly interested in making sure that it keeps going. Just as you can lose a private key to a wallet and then a particular repository of Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies get lost, similarly, certain branches of this genetic chain can become fallow. Individuals and species can stop without any offspring, and species can become extinct. Also, the genetic chain is pseudonymous, similarly to how blockchain is. We can have all kinds of relationships that are assumed to represent what we understand reality to be, but so many novels and so many movies start from the fact that when you look at the genetic basis, it turns out there is a distance between reality and what you understood. genetic analysis and chain analysis can uncover very interesting surprises. And we are still trying to go deeper in both areas, and will be generating a lot of value in both. The instincts that we have around managing our genetic material and our desire to improve upon it through technology are similar to the instincts that we have to develop in efficiently managing our blockchain-based assets, and how we want to improve on those technologies as we apply them to various areas where they can become valuable and important. I am looking forward to explore more what this analogy can be applied to, what features of one can be similar to the features of the other. Recently I read an article that pretended to design an analogy between quantum mechanics and blockchain or Bitcoin, and I found that to be particularly unlucky and actually useless. So I am always trying to find what are good ways to exemplify features of blockchain and Bitcoin, because they are worth understanding. So when I find a good analogy, I'm always happy. Genetics and our unbroken chain of billion years of genetic heritage is, I think, one of these useful analogies. Thank you very much for listening to or watching this episode of The Context. I'm creating these videos every week, and if you want to support me, you are welcome to become a fan, a sponsor, a benefactor on Patreon at patreon.com/David Orban.